So here we are in Portugal, just setting stuff up to play the music at the Viana night. I am KULT of Living Records, and I'm here with the first artist on Living Records, the Photonz. Yeah, so I mean the reason I did Living Records in the first place was I've always been into kind of variety of music. It's always been kind of centralized on techno, but techno is so broad, and even within minimal techno, you know, it's kind of lost its meaning because so much of it around that scene is not really that minimal. But even so, there was a whole host of artists that I kept finding on MySpace mainly, and also my own kind of taste in music that doesn't fit into any niche, even something as broad as what minimal has now become. So I started the label to give a voice to that kind of music. So the first release really is really diverse. The first track that really inspired me to get going, and I left a comment on their MySpace and never looked back since, was Alpha, and that's 104 BPM, and it's seriously dark, cinematic, big, heavy tune. It's almost the opposite of minimal, really. But for me, it's still part of that electronic dance music scene. I was actually in a band when I was at school, and my responsibility was telling them to turn the bass up.
Yeah.
But they were more onto the trancey side of things, and their responsibility was to turn the bass down. So it was a bit of a struggle. But we actually did a live gig as a band, and I was playing the bass, well, one string. And there was a guy there playing hip-hop records, and I thought, actually, that looks a lot easier. I'm going to be a DJ. So I thought actually DJing would be my way into music, and then from there I always had it as a plan to start producing music.
For me, I always was a great fan of music. I just bought records, vinyl records, like techno records, even when I was not a DJ, just wanting to have those records and play them in my house. So we were friends. We just we enjoyed listening to music together. We just kind of started listening to the same stuff, so it kind of made sense from the beginning. We had another friend that enjoyed our music too, so we just kind of grew from there, I guess, just a natural thing. And then seeing artists and DJs playing and thinking how much fun they should be getting from that, we just wanted to have that fun, I guess, to create something of your own. Working as a pair, it's actually more fun than DJing alone, because you kind of push the DJ set into different directions and gets varied in terms of sound, and I think people usually like DJ sets from us more when we play together.
We like the same kind of music, but when we play together, there is sounds different, and alone it's not the same. When we make music together, we make that in a long part of the work is made alone, and then we can meet sometimes to discuss some points, but it's made alone, and probably some kind of music is more mine and some are more from Marco, but in the in the end the music will be Photonz.
We just I think we work in a, you know, we make a lot of different stuff just for fun, but at some point we just think, okay, this bit is Photonz, we get together to finish this one. I usually start with melodies and then add beats, or just a bass line or something, a sound. Not really start with kicks and stuff. And usually when I receive music from Miguel, it's usually beats, and then we kind of go from there.
In the traditional sense, I don't really consider myself a musician, but what I do is musical, and I think DJing is also a very valid musical expression, but the length of time you're dealing with between phrases, if you like, is a lot longer than playing a melody in a piano. Because each tune is about 3 or 5 minutes between mixes, and each one of those is almost like one note in a melody. So it's hard for a lot of people to see that you're actually doing something creative and musical because the time frame is a lot longer. But every note you play, you're looking and seeing what the audience is responding to and how they're responding to it. And the next note you play is totally relevant to how people responded to the previous one. I think that's quite an interesting opportunity to do that. I have this interesting kind of pull in two almost contradictory directions. One is kind of constant change, constantly surprising kind of music, contrasted with that trancey, monotonous, absolute minimal beat. And I always find myself kind of inspired and you know, sometimes kind of jealous of DJs that manage to play like a very pure set and get something else comes out of it, even though, you know, on the surface it might seem like pretty boring playing a very restricted type of music. It does enable you to kind of enter into this kind of magical, hypnotic space. And at the same time, you know, I'm in awe of DJs that play whatever they want all across the board and they get away with it, and people go with them, you know, on the journey wherever they take them. And the James Holden, like you mentioned before, you know, he does it really well, and he's always done that, and he's been passionate about the music that he plays, and he plays it regardless. I think that's a real inspiration as well.